Hey everybody, welcome back to my coverage of the PogChamps 3 tournament. This is the second Consolation quarterfinals match, Pokimane versus Myth. Pokimane, she is the favorite. She placed third in her group in the group stage. Myth placed fourth, and she is that rating favorite by a bit. So she is this match's favorite, but anything could happen. So let's just see what happens. We have a d4 and d5 for Myth. Bishop f4, Pokimane going for her London system that she likes to do. And knight to c6 from Myth. We have e3 continuing that London system setup, and knight to f6, knight to f3, bishop f5, and bishop b5. Both players developing very nicely. And here in Pokimane's match versus XQC, XQC had a lot of trouble with this pinned knight. And so Myth prevents any shenanigans from happening. He kicks that bishop off the diagonal right away with a6, and this forces Pokimane to do something about this bishop. So she takes the knight. Probably just bringing back the bishop would have been more positionally accurate, but taking is fine too. Just because when you take, you're just giving up the bishop pair for no reason, and also you're allowing black to control the center a little more, and they could also use this half-open b file. So we do have bishop takes c6 though, which is fine as well, and b takes c6 for Myth. Now we have knight e5 attacking this now weak doubled c pawn that Pokimane has created, and Myth does not defend. So here you have to play a move like you could play a move like queen b8, counterattacking this b pawn, or you could just continue developing with a move like e6 and sacrifice this c6 pawn, looking to get a lead in development. But Myth does neither of those. He plays a knight to e4, sort of just mirroring Pokimane, but this knight to e4 move from Myth doesn't hold the same potency as Pokimane's knight to e5 because Pokimane doesn't have these doubled c pawns, so there's no material for Myth to take here on c3. So yeah, Myth could have continued developing, or like we said, attack this b pawn, but this move is just not as good as either of those alternatives. So Pokimane does pick up this c6 pawn, and this is now attacking the queen, so Myth moves it with queen to d7. We have knight back to e5, Pokimane saving her knight and hitting the queen once again, and Myth moves it to b5, now attacking this b pawn. However, you can actually sacrifice this b pawn in a lot of queen's pawn games, and this is exactly what Pokimane does. She simply plays knight to c3, and this pawn is, you can take it, but in a lot of lines, white can get some counterplay with this open b file now, and a lot of times the queen will get trapped or simply be out of play. So Myth goes ahead and takes it, which I think is a fine decision at this level. But however, you just have to be aware when you take this pawn, you also drop this d pawn. So maybe if this d pawn was defended, then this queen takes b2 would be a much better move. But since this drops the d pawn, it's a mediocre move at best, this queen takes b2. Pokimane does go for this center pawn, and this is usually going to be a good trade for Pokimane because she's getting that center pawn and trading it for a wing pawn, which is usually a good trade. So Pokimane is doing very well here. We have rook c8 now defending this c7 pawn that Pokimane was attacking, and castles from Pokimane, just getting her king safe. So Pokimane, she's up in development, she is up a pawn, and her king is safer. So Pokimane definitely doing very well here. We have queen b5 from Myth, and here Pokimane plays f3. So this queen b5 move was attacking this knight. I think a little bit better from Pokimane would have been a move like c4, just grabbing the center, attacking the queen, and also defending the knight at the same time. And also you're now giving your queen more mobility. It could come to b3 or a4 later. So after a sequence like queen a5, you could even attack the queen again with a move like knight to c6, hitting the queen again. And now you also have this double attack on this c7 square. So after a move like queen to a3, you could play knight takes c7 check, and this puts black in a bit of a predicament. I mean, if you bring the king to d7, you're just bringing your king out, and white's queen and rook could come to this b file, and you could be in a lot of trouble very quickly. So here black has to sacrifice the exchange with rook takes c7, and after bishop takes c7, white is going to be up 2 pawns and the exchange. So just overall doing very well for white. Here you can actually win the piece back as black with a move like king to d7, but now comes the crazy move queen to b1, which is just crazy because, You want your rooks on the open file usually, not your queen, and also you're stepping right in line with this bishop. But the idea is you're going to come down here and checkmate the black king with your queen. And black can't take either of these pieces. If he goes after the knight, then it's simply, what is it? Oh, we just play queen b8, and this king is never going to be safe in this game. The rooks will come to the b file, and black will likely be getting checkmated, or at the very least losing a lot of material. If black goes for the bishop, on the other hand, it's even worse because now white can play d5 defending this knight, and the threat is queen b8, and there will be checkmate very soon. So here, if black doesn't do anything like a nothing move, say h6, this is actually mate in 2 after queen b8 and knight to e5. This will be checkmate. So black has to try to stop this with a move like king to d6, but it still leads to checkmate. We would still have queen to b8, and now if king to d7, we have this knight to e5 checkmate once again. So the king has to come to c5 instead, and now we play rook a to b1. And now the threat is queen to b6, and it will be checkmate in a couple moves. So once again, if black makes a nothing move, we would have queen to b6. If the king comes to d6, we could have knight to b8, and after the only move, king to e5, we would have f4, which is checkmate. Crazy, crazy line, but white just utilizing all of their pieces. So if black makes the other move here and takes this c4 pawn, we could continue calculating here, but actually there's nothing more to calculate. Queen d4 is just checkmate. So yes, black cannot go for this fancy king d7 king fork, even though it may look like he can win back one of the pieces after this continuation. So that was a really long line there, maybe one of the longest lines I've ever shown in any of these game analyses videos. But yes, this c4 line I think would have been very strong, and it's just a very principled move by Pokimane as well. But instead we have f3, and her idea is, okay, I'm hanging my knight, but I'm counterattacking your knight. So we have this trade. Queen takes d5 and f takes e4, but this also loses a pawn, and it sort of weakens your king a little bit since you no longer have the f pawn. But we do have this on board. We have queen takes e4 for myth, and now queen to e2, developing the queen. We have now e6 for myth. Myth just wants to get his last piece developed. He just wants to develop this bishop. However, this does hang this a6 pawn, so I'm not sure if myth missed that or not, but Pokimane does go for it. She plays queen takes a6, and now this rook is hit, so you have to do something about this rook. Queen to a8, just offering the queen exchange. You're okay with this queen exchange here as myth because although you are down in material, you do need to get your king safe, and white has a lot of pieces on the attack, so you're okay with a queen trade here to sort of mitigate the attack a bit. But instead we have simply rook to b8 from myth, and this actually allows a tactic by Pokimane starting with queen to a4 check, and basically the idea here is if you move the king anywhere, then if you move the king to e7, then this will be mate in a couple moves. And if you move the king to d8, for example, well, this is just checkmate in one move. Or sorry, if you move the king to d8, it's checkmate in one move. And obviously you can't block with the rook. That would just hang the rook, and you can't block with the queen. And if you block with the pawn, then there's this queen to a7, and white has too many threats. They're threatening queen takes b8, queen d7, checkmate. And if you try to defend both of these with a move like rook to d8, then there's queen takes f7, checkmate. So here black would have to play a move like bishop to e7, and then there's just queen takes b8, and white is going to be crushing here. So there was this queen to a4 tactic. Will Pokimane see it? No, she simply plays she simply plays queen to c6. Oops, sorry about that. I clicked on the wrong move, but she does not go for this queen a4 tactic. She plays queen c6 instead, and this basically here you have to go for the queen trade as myth. Like you really should, because you don't want your king very exposed, and also once again you have to go for this queen trade. Your only other legal moves, king e7 leads to mate in 2, and king d8 leads to this mate in 1. But myth did play king d8, and Pokimane did not have any trouble finding this queen d7 move, which is checkmate. So we have an 18-move game. Pokimane takes the first game with the checkmating myth, and she takes this first game. I think Pokimane actually may be one of the favorites to win the entire consolation bracket, if I had to make a guess. I think she's one of the stronger players, or the strongest player in the consolation bracket. So, yeah, very nice little miniature. Both players played pretty well in the opening, just missed a couple tactics. But overall, they played very principally. Principally, you know what I'm trying to say. Um, yeah, so I don't think I have anything else to say about this game. But thank you for watching, and check out my PogChamps 3 playlists up there, and check out the next game of this match, see if Pokimane wins or if Myth will take us to a tiebreaker over there. And thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. Stay awesome. Stay subscribed. I love you guys. See you next time.